In this video, we are going to talk a bit more on anger and how we define anger, which is very important before we proceed. We need to know everything about the problem before we start trying to fix that problem. And also, in this chapter, we are going to talk about why you should be concerned about anger. What are the detrimental effects anger has on our lives? There are many definitions of anger out there, and I think most of them are completely wrong and misleading. Many say that anger is an emotion characterized by antagonism towards someone or something you feel has deliberately or unintentionally done you wrong. Some other people say that anger is a negative feeling state that is typically associated with hostile thoughts, physiological arousal, and maladaptive behavior. It also develops in response to the unwanted actions of another person who is perceived to be disrespectful, demeaning, threatening, or neglectful. So these are the main two definitions out there, which I don't agree with at all. Anger is a mode of mental state that feels repulsion towards anything. Basically, if you dislike something, that is anger. We need to understand this before we proceed. Anger has so many faces, and we are so confused what anger is. Anger to you might not be the same to your neighbor because anger is so subjective in nature. So we need to understand what anger is right now if we are going to solve this problem. Slightly annoyed, irritation, frustration, disappointment, rage, jealousy, even fear, and so many more are the different phases of anger which we don't realize. And this level of anger arising in you is directly proportional to the level of dislike or repulsion you have towards the experience which triggers your anger. And if this level is high enough, it can drive people to murder someone in a split second. Doesn't take much time. What about biological terms? In biological terms, anger is actually an emotion for saving ourselves from danger situations, which is when we are in fear. That is what anger is actually for, to save ourselves from danger situations. So let us look at what happens actually inside our bodies when we are trying to save ourselves from a dangerous situation. The brain basically shuts down all organs in the body which are not required to save ourselves. Organs like the heart and the lungs, liver start to operate at their optimum levels to get you out of the danger. What happens to the heart? The heart starts pumping at very high levels to make sure the muscles in your body, especially the limbs, get enough oxygen and fresh blood to get away from the danger as soon as possible. And for this to happen, the lungs operate at the highest optimum level as well. What happens with the liver? There's something called glycogen in the liver. It's deposited in the liver. And in this type of situation, the glycogen deposits are injected into the bloodstream, and this glycogen turns into glucose, increasing the blood glucose level in our blood in a very short period of time. That is the reason why in danger situations, people can do unbelievable things. People who never climb trees. People who could hardly run 20 meters, 30 meters, they run hundreds of meters with such speeds, most probably giving Usain Bolt a run for his money as well. This is well and good because we don't get chased by wild animals every now and then. Most probably you'll never be chased by a wild animal in your whole lifetime. But the problem here is the same physical reaction occurs inside our bodies because of anger. People who have anger issues, a person like me before, was often very, very angry. And with these biological reactions happening inside your body all the time, they have very, very detrimental effects on your body in the long run because your heart starts pumping blood faster and faster, even when it's not actually required. And this leads to problems like high blood pressure. And we don't need so much of glucose in our blood because we are not actually trying to save ourselves from a dangerous situation when we're angry, and that can lead to diabetes. So what about this other organs like the digestive system, because when we are angry, the blood supply to all these unwanted organs to save ourselves from dangerous situation like the digestive system doesn't function. That is why you must have experienced this. When you are extremely angry, you either have diarrhea or constipation. That is very common. And the worst of all is anger may have a relationship with cancer as well. What about other important organs in our body? Researchers are looking at anger in relation to erectile dysfunction. They think that there is a direct link between anger and ED. This is because when you are always angry, there's no supply of blood to these organs, and over time, their function itself is affected. And also, anger directly causes libido decrease, and these types of problems create a whole new problem in relationships, because if you can't enjoy the relationship and all you have is anger, it leads to disaster sooner or later. So does anger only ruin relationships? No. Anger has a detrimental effect on children. Families become dysfunctional very easily because of anger. Beautiful families, faithful families, loyal families, they break down because of anger. And anger, as you would very well know, has led to so many breakups, and these breakups most probably will cost the couple their whole lifetime savings to divorce lawyers. That is very unfortunate. And after some time, the interesting thing is these divorced couples, they meet someone else and they're happy for some time, and once that the best behavior period is over with the new partner, the same type of symptoms, anger symptoms, start coming out and the relationship goes on the rocks again. How many times have we seen this happening to our friends? And does it really have to come to this? That is the danger of anger. And the emotional toll from these experiences of relationship breakdowns on anger can be life-threatening, can lead to a lifetime of suffering. And also, anger has a direct effect on our decision making process. When you are angry, you can miss simple cues and make silly mistakes. Some of them can be very costly, especially if you are making mistakes in the workplace or even do things like miss red lights while driving. Simply when you're angry, you lose mindfulness on your bearings. You are totally distracted and you are overtaken by this negative mind frame, which robs not only you, but your loved ones, your workmates, the pleasantness of a beautiful life. And on top of that, mistakes can sometimes be fatal, especially while driving. There are so many driving accidents because couples were confronting each other while one person was driving. Also, there's a misconception saying that sleep issues cause anger, but anger issues lead to sleep issues, and sleep deprivation can cause a whole lot of other issues as well. These are some of the detrimental effects anger can have on you physically and mentally, and effects of anger can last a lifetime. That is why we need to fix it now. But to fix anger, we need to go deeper into it, because we are just touching the surface at the moment. We need to dismantle anger to the smallest components and see how anger arises in ourselves. What causes anger? And only then we can confront it. With that said, I will see you in the next chapter.